Hello, everyone out there in internet land. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to London Ascendant, our weekly Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition chronicle. I'm Matt, I'm your storyteller, and joined as always in the background, beavering away like a maniac, is Steve, our stream manager. Hello, Steve. How are you doing?
Matt. I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Let's act like we haven't talked yet tonight. That would be entertaining for everyone. Of course, we haven't. This is the only time we ever interact. Yeah. But thanks to Steve, he'll go off into the darkness to carry out his wicked work. Let's do the blurb before the session, and then we can start introducing people. So we've got a bunch of links below. Lots of them are social media, which is usually but not always Telling Tales RP. We've got a link to our YouTube where our VODs are stored. If you're behind the times on our stories, you can go there and catch all the way up. We have a Patreon. If you love what we do, why not maybe support us in some way? Yeah, that would be great. We also run a load of other role-playing stuff. We have another weekly series playing the dark fantasy system Symbaroom. That happens on Wednesdays, also at 8 o'clock GMT. And also we run some monthly one-offs. We did our first one of those the other week. It was Alien, the Alien RPG from Free League, and the VODs for that are over on YouTube. And I think it's still hanging around on Twitch as well if you want to watch that in all its 6-hour plus glory. But enough of that. You can see the relationship map for our coterie just to my right there. But let's start talking to the coterie. Let's bring them on and talk about what happened last time. So first off, he says, completely forgetting the order in which he'd suggested to bring people on in. First off, we're going to bring on Pierre. I believe Pierre is going to come on first. Hello, Pierre.
Hello, Matt.
Hi. So Pierre plays Oscar Kane.
Indeed I do. Indeed I do. And I suppose we can start off with a bunch of people politely requesting that we do some tasks for them. These were the elders who some might say are our betters. We might disagree. Anyway, they asked us in such polite terms to deal with the annex in Camden, which meant a variety of different things. They also wanted us to establish contact with some vampires in London, Rowena in Regent's Park and Rosa Barwi in Limehouse. And then there was a character who I can't even remember what his face was like or anything particularly remarkable, or whether it was he or, I don't know, just some person. Maybe we were going to help that person or something with some sort of task involving the Second Inquisition. I was, as Oscar, was very interested in doing all of these things, of course, but I had my own agenda a little bit. I wanted to talk to Astrid, the Tremere elder, a little bit, and I sort of tried to pretend like I didn't know anything about the pyramid, or I was a bit foolish. I think she saw right through me, but in the process revealed a few things that actually I didn't know about, how she felt about her position within the pyramid and the pyramid in general. So I was chastened, but
you were chastened, and I would add that it's probably rather easy for Oscar to feign ignorance.
Oh, so easy. I am a master of this. But nevertheless.
Very slick at it. To cover the rest of what happened in that kind of gathering, we'll bring on our second player. It is Neill, who plays Alex Taylor Brown, our resident Malkavian prophet of doom. Hello, Neill.
Hello. And Alex did not have much cause to look like this last session. No, last session was most peaceful. First, Alex had a minor comment from Brazil, their sire, who asked if Alex wished to have some form of escape route out of London. Alex intimated that they did, and so Brazil, the mysterious figure who Oscar is not able to remember, agreed and then wandered off to do whatever it is that Brazil does. Also, Alex spoke to Wynne very briefly, just to inform him that Jack was looking for Vasilius and had left the city, presumably. Wynne seemed uninterested in that, but hopefully it was something he wished to know. And finally, we spoke with Anasov. Anasov gave us many details about the anarchs he wished us to hunt down, and so on. And also delightfully agreed to pass on messages for Alex to dear old friends Rowena and Rosa Bowie, should we send letters via him.
Absolutely. And I believe one more thing happened upon exiting the
a minor contrivance. Yes, there was simply a small issue with a large owl leaving before us. At first, Alex thought it might just be some form of shape change kindred, but no, it seemed more than that. And I believe Alex was going to discuss it more when we went back to the Haven, but things took precedence.
Just a big owl.
Just a big old owl, but an owl that terrified one of our players, although not the player that we're bringing on next. The player we're bringing on next is Justin, who plays Mandrill, our resident Nosferatu architect. Hello, Justin.
Hello. So when we got back to the Haven, the first thing we did was one of the things we wanted to do was check out what was on Jack's flash drive. So we opened it up and we found all kinds of files. We didn't have too much time to do that. But we found information on Rowena and Ash Darnell, Johnny Gallagher, who was someone we were going to be visiting in Camden, and Rose Bowie. So all in all, pretty successful snooping, but not enough time to peruse all of the files.
Absolutely, that's going to take some time. And I believe you also had a watch of Jack's video message to you, which can be summed up as, get your Haven security down or you're going to die. You're all going to die. Pretty much.
I mean, that's one way of putting it.
And we're going to die.
Yes. I mean, you were already dead, but apart from that. Let's bring on our final player. Let's bring on John, who plays Arthur Norris, the Owl Scared. And that lovely new art. That lovely new art for Arthur. So what happened next? You went to see the annex. John will tell us all about it, and it went well.
It did. We arrived at Camden. We met a very strange, very friendly fellow who waved at us and trolled the Masquerade out of us, and then cunningly led us into a well-laid trap that no one saw coming.
It was also almost like the storyteller needed to provide a cliffhanger with only a minute left on the clock. So, would you like tell us more about that particular ambush, please, John?
He basically led us to some kind of docks by a pond. And then all of the annex climbed out of the water and surrounded us. And
all the people of London will be delighted to know that you refer to Camden Lock as a pond, but
I couldn't. I remembered it was a body of water.
Yeah,
was it
it's
a lake?
canal.
Was
It's
it a lock.
In Camden, it's a canal, Camden Lock. So.
Okay, that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it'll all go really well. And Arthur will definitely achieve his desire of this week, which is have a reasonable and mature conversation with the anarchs.
That seems
definitely
very
won't
likely.
devolve into violence.
It seems very likely to happen. To set the scene, I believe we said there's this jetty that's kind of out onto the canal that still has the remnants of the Camden Market. It spreads all over this place, and it has kind of old market stalls on there, which have obviously not been occupied for some time. And the three of you dashed forward to kind of follow this guy, being Arthur, Oscar, and Mandrill. Alex a bit more circumspect at the back. And essentially, once you caught up with him, the rest of the annex crawled out of the canal water and surrounded you and essentially started jeering at you. Alex still a bit of the way behind, and they do seem aware of Alex's presence as well, and are also kind of jeering at Alex, kind of, we've got your friends, sort of thing. And then an individual emerged from the general group of them. An individual with kind of messy mop of dyed black curls, cheap kind of bargain plastic sunglasses. He's wearing a leather jacket, jeans, and a white shirt with a Coca-Cola logo on it. Very skinny build, razor sharp cheekbones, and he has emerged from the group of them and has started addressing you. Well, I mean, he started the conversation by telling you you've made a very big mistake. So clearly, you're getting off on the right foot here.
Of course.
He seems to be expecting some kind of response.
So, hello there. My name's Oscar Kane. Pleased to meet you. I offer my hand.
The man with the razor-sharp cheekbones. I should add for any veteran vampire players. I don't mean literally. He's not Suniche. Kind of goggles at you for a second, and then just kind of looks around at everyone with a big grin on his face, walks forward, puts his hand out, and shakes it very, very vigorously. Arthur, Mandrill, are you doing anything? We'll hop back to Alex in a second.
I'm shaking my head despondently and almost apologetically saying to this big scary anarch, I'm so sorry, he's new.
Sure. I don't want to give the wrong impression about it. He's not a big...
No,
I give the impression he's not kind of intimidating looking at all, really.
No, I'm imagining him like a skinny indie guy, basically.
Yeah, that is exactly him.
Yeah.
He's kind of still shaking your hand vigorously, and he kind of looks around at everyone and says, "Everyone, this is Oscar. This is Oscar Kane. Oscar Kane, this is everyone." He glances over at Arthur and spits directly at you.
Arthur or Oscar?
At Arthur. Blood splatters onto the front of your suit.
That wasn't very nice.
Alex,
Charming.
what are you doing behind the group?
I'm still a little away.
I mean, staying where you are is an option. Cautiously approaching,
They'd formed a slight barrier between me and the others, hadn't they?
They have, and a couple of them are kind of looking back at you to kind of just keep an eye on you, sort of thing. They don't. You don't know if they would block you if you walked up.
I'm going to walk closer, but it's not trying to push through them or anything like that.
Sure.
Just being and looking as friendly and innocent as only Alex can be.
As you kind of approach closer, they start kind of nudging each other. You see one of them, a woman with a kind of very, very closely clipped hair, sort of whispers in their ears, and they part slightly to allow you in if you want to go into the circle.
I think Alex will cautiously walk into the circle, join their comrades.
Absolutely. Neill has very well pointed out that we should start looking at whether you're taking willpower damage from the interactions with these annex, being as they're somewhat socially embarrassing already so far. Do we want to do these as we go, because they might be multiple happenings, or do we want to kind of do a summary at the end? Unless anyone's running low on willpower, then the latter isn't a particular problem, but it's up to you guys.
Well, this week's a willpower refresh week, isn't it? So
it is not.
That's next week.
That's next week. This is a remorse week.
I thought willpower and stains were at the same time. I was wrong.
No.
I would go for at the end, because maybe we'll make a good impression. Maybe we'll come off well. Who could say?
I guess it comes down to how many times do you want us to roll?
Yeah,
Can we be bothered with the admin?
Sure.
But yeah, there's also a question of fury, right? Of a frenzy.
Yeah, there is. Let's do it as is. I think Arthur's the obvious one. Do you roll willpower as a defense against this, or just
it's current undamaged willpower plus 1/3 humanity rolled down?
That's it.
With hunger?
No.
Okay.
willpower. And it has
1/3 humanity rounded down.
Yes, so you'll be on +2. So 2 plus whatever your current unspent willpower is.
And the difficulty is 2, I believe.
Was he still shaking my hand when he spat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think I like.
These are not polite people, Oscar.
I've got
I
that
rolled
impression.
6 dice and got 3 successes. So I'm cool. I'm cool. I expected this.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we
fine.
did expect this.
Did you say, Oscar, that you're kind of trying to detach your hand?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to need an opposed strength roll.
Just like,
lovely. This is my speciality.
Yeah, and I'm gonna approximate some of his disciplines and stuff here because I don't want to precisely calculate stuff.
Okay.
So I'm gonna set you. I'm basically just roll strength at a difficulty of 3.
Well, I'm rolling 2 dice, so
You could crit.
I got 1 success.
Yeah, no. He's got it's not, an iron vice-like grip on your hand, but he's definitely stronger than you, and he's not letting go.
Also, those no, actually, I don't know if that was a failure on hunger. No, I don't think it was a bestial failure or anything.
That's probably a good thing.
Yes.
And you know what? In that case, Oscar, I think maybe you should also roll for willpower damage, because it's very obvious now that you're trying to get your hand away from him, and he's
and I can't.
not letting you go. So that would be your unspent willpower,
which is 3,
plus 1/3 of your humanity rounded down,
which will be so I have 7, so that's 2. So I'll roll a 5 dice.
Mm-hmm.
I
we'll
got
call
3,
this a difficulty 2 as well. You got 3, yeah.
3 successes.
Both of you are bearing through this.
Yep, I'm like, haha.
I will
Go
very
ahead.
calmly take a handkerchief out of my pocket, start cleaning myself up, and say, "We only came here to talk."
He looks over at you, and he still has kind of Oscar's hand within his grip, but he's kind of stopped pumping it quite so much now. And he says, "I don't see anyone round here trying to stop you, Cammy. Why don't you talk?" The group surrounding you, the ring of them, kind of their jeers die down a bit, and the sudden quiet is quite unnerving.
I take it you'd be opposed to going somewhere slightly more secluded.
Here suits us just fine.
I thought you'd say that.
Neill.
Can I look to see if there are any cameras within sight?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a wits plus streetwise roll, please. Or, wits plus streetwise or wits plus technology. Your choice.
So wits.
And it's quite dark. It's an area you're unfamiliar with, and it's a tense situation. I'm going to put it at difficulty 3.
Does heightened senses count for this?
I don't think so, particularly, because it's not like seeing in the dark, is it, or anything? I don't think that gets past any. It is seeing in the dark,
yes,
of course.
I don't know. Like the fluff of it is weird. I don't think it's supposed to be like an automatic. You see perfectly, but more that because you add the dice, you can see through the the gloom.
Sure. I'm still going to go with no.
Anyway.
I'm still going to go with no. So 3 successes anyway. Did you say? There are no obvious security cameras nearby.
And I'm just going to stay quiet for now.
He's still kind of looking at you, Arthur, expectantly.
Look, I know before I say anything that us coming here and giving you instructions will not go down well. I appreciate that. But I think you underestimate how dangerous your lifestyle is for everyone in the city. And we are not your worst enemy in the city, okay?
He drops Oscar's hand and kind of sort of weaves round Oscar and walks back to Arthur, and he's not in your face, but he's not in your face either. He's not exactly squaring up to you, but has a kind of slight roll to his shoulders. He looks round at Mandrel and Oscar and kind of registers Alex now as well and goes, "This your blue blood, yeah?" So he reaches forward and takes your lapel and just kind of straightens your tie slightly and says, "Why don't you tell us what you mean by our lifestyle, blue blood?"
We've had noise complaints from your neighbors.
You know who we are. You know what you call us. And you're here telling us the scary, scary annex that we should be worried about what people who voluntarily call themselves landlords think.
Oh, we're not just talking about the landlords. We're talking about the mortals with flamethrowers.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Do you see them around here?
Not yet.
Not yet. Do you think we'll be here when they arrive?
I hope for your sake you're not.
We'll see here. Unlike you, he reaches out and stabs you quite hard in the forehead. We have control over our territory, Cammy. We'll see them coming, and then we'll run to ground. Just like I did up north, again and again and again. See, the thing is, when you don't have your own banks and estate management companies and art galleries, it's actually quite easy to stay off the radar.
And if running away worked so well, how did you end up in London?
You think we're here because we're running from them? That's great. That's great. We're here because we want to be here. You know, you were talking big about our lifestyle. Ula! The woman who Alex saw earlier strides out of the group of annex. She is sort of slender, wearing a very kind of fashionable, form-fitting long white dress. Her head is shaved down to stubble. She's very striking, maybe of a kind of South Asian heritage, with exquisite tattoos wrapped around both arms. As she strides closer and kind of more into the light, you can see there are coiled serpents wrapped around, running to her wrists. The man talking to you, I think we can safely call him Johnny Gallagher out now, right?
Yeah.
Says, "Tell them about our lifestyle." Ular kind of steps around Johnny and starts walking in a circle around all of you and says, "We are the howl in the night. We are the ones who slither through the gutters of your ivory towers. We are the poison in your veins and the faint taste of smoke in the air that tells you a firestorm is bearing down, and you will all be consumed." Johnny goes, "And what does that mean, Ula?" "It means we do what we want." The entire group of annex almost as one, just howls in glee. And at least two of them, each on each of you, are going to kind of roughly grab you and start dragging you. What resistance, if any, are we going to do with this? And while we're talking about that, Arthur, I think we can safely say you should make another roll for willpower damage.
Sure.
We'll just make it the same one. You know what? We'll ramp it up by 1. We'll say it's a difficulty 3, but the same roll. And I guess also we have to consider whether anyone would consider themselves to be in risk of frenzying at this point.
That's what that roll is for.
Oh, fair enough.
Can I spend a willpower on this roll?
Can't spend willpower.
Then
on
that's
willpower
one
rolls.
success.
Okay. So, Neill, why don't you tell us what this means in terms of risk of frenzy?
Well, that means that Arthur frenzies.
Oh, it's simple as that. There's no additional roll to be made.
No, that is the Fury Frenzy roll, which has been failed. So it's just tries to destroy the cause of provocation, and then anyone nearby if they're interfered with.
Okay. So the roll to kind of defend against willpower damage is literally the same thing as the frenzy roll.
No, the roll to defend against willpower damage is, well, it's a opposed test. It's like social conflict. So it'd be them making whatever their barbs are, say something plus intimidation. Arthur's whatever plus whatever.
Okay. Sorry. I thought that was what we were doing, not the frenzy rolls.
No. This was the Fury Frenzy rolls.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we need to do rolls for the willpower because that's what I thought we were doing.
Sorry.
So Blair, we'll sum those up in one, and we'll get rid of those now. So Oscar, so I guess the rolls for those is like composure plus.
I suppose it'd be them using, I don't know, strength plus intimidation in Oscar's case versus composure plus resolve. Probably.
Yeah, seems likely. Why don't you give me a composure plus resolve roll at difficulty? Difficulty 3, Oscar.
Okay, I'm rolling 5 dice, and I'm at hunger 2, and I got 2 successes. So I think I want to try a willpower reroll. Oh wait, or can I not? Is that what
you can? You can. It's an attribute roll, so yeah.
Gotcha. I'm trying that, and 0 extra successes, so I still fail.
Cool. So take a superficial point of willpower damage, which is exactly the same as using a point of willpower.
Yep.
And don't forget the one you already spent as well.
Yep. I'm now on 1 remaining willpower.
Sure. Arthur, can you give me? I'm going to set the same difficulty and stuff. Obviously, he wasn't physically intimidating you; he was kind of socially intimidating you. But same composure and resolve against difficulty of 4.
I can't find my resolve. There it is.
The willpower damage to reflect that it's a couple of instances.
So is the person trying to grab, is it me and Arthur who are being grabbed?
Everyone.
Everyone's being grabbed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick alternative, as Arthur was actually engaging back, depending on how you want to look at it, you could have Arthur make something like a composure plus leadership or persuasion roll to be opposed in this, but I don't think he was really trading barbs.
No, I don't think he was. He was kind of trying to stand his ground, but it wasn't aggressive. We'll run with this for now, and in future when we do it, we'll think about it more. But I just don't want to stall for a bunch of rolls.
I
rolled 5 dice with 2 hunger and got 3 successes.
Okay. Well, I set it at 4, so take 2 willpower superficial damage, please.
Ooh.
Well, that gets halved.
Where's it get halved?
Why is that?
All superficial damage gets halved.
Okay.
Okay.
Unless they're doing more than just the margin of damage because it was in front of the coterie or something, in which case that would get added first.
I'll be honest, I just added 1 because I thought it was worse than Pierre's. So.
I mean, it's probably fair. I mean, it is in front of the coterie, so it is probably, I can't remember the page at the moment, it adds like 2 damage or something anyway, so it seems fine.
Sure.
Cool. I tried to put in the chat, but when things were getting tense, Mandrill probably would have been using her sense the beast to detect for early signs of aggression. Would I have had forewarning of being grabbed, which is the exact kind of thing that I was trying to?
I mean, I think everyone. I mean, it depends whether you don't think them all howling in unison is enough of a like. I don't know. It's an aggressive situation already. If you want to resist, I'll give you a little bonus. How about that?
Well, no, I also kind of like I can kind of sense the level of aggression. So like, does this feel like they're grabbing me because they're trying to kill me, or they're grabbing me because they're trying to scare me, or they're grabbing me because they're you know what I mean? Like,
presumably, like the level is this one where it doesn't have a roll?
It does have a roll. Yeah, I'm happy to. So it has a okay. So it's opposed and it's against composure and subterfuge.
Their composure is not high because you're rolling against all. Their subterfuge is also not high. Difficulty 2.
Okay. Well, luckily, I have quite a few die. Well, I have 2 successes.
Yeah. Sure. They don't seem about to inflict horrible harm on you.
Cool.
Like their blood is up, but they're not. Yeah. You know, your predatory senses aren't blaring that you're in horrible danger right now.
They're not about to diabolise me.
Yeah.
Then I probably am not going to cause too much of a fuss about it. Guys, annex are going to be annex.
It's a raucous mob, not a raucous lynch mob. You know.
Then I'm not going to make it worse by trying to,
Sure.
Although it depends what Arthur's doing.
Well, Arthur is frenzying, so Arthur's going to attack them. Oscar and Alex, what are you doing?
If I'm suddenly wrenched back, is it really loud?
Oh yeah, they're all shouting and hooting and laughing.
I'm going to if there's ever an opportunity to talk to the person, like a person right next to me, I would try to say something like, what happened to surely not everyone who ran to ground is still okay, because I'm trying to play off the thing he said about running to ground.
Sure.
And undermine his leadership in some way.
Okay, absolutely. Go ahead and give me a roll for that. It's going to have a very high difficulty, but that's where the fun is. Why don't you give me a manipulation plus your choice of persuasion or subterfuge, I guess.
Okay, they're both equivalent. I can't use performance. No, I suppose it's not.
No.
Okay, so manipulation plus.
I mean, unless you try to undermine them with a really, really good rap.
They're both 2. So
spits and.
Okay, well, I'll tell you right now that the difficulty for this is 5.
Okay, 5. So I'm rolling.
If you're rolling 2 dice, that's impossible, I think.
No, sorry, I'm rolling 4 dice in total.
Oh right, okay, then go for it.
Okay.
Totally doable.
Definitely doable.
Don't forget blood surge.
Yeah.
Don't forget blood surge.
I don't think blood surge helps. Okay.
Gives you an extra die.
Oh, does it? Okay.
2.
But I have to go up in hunger potentially, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll roll 5 dice.
Was it 6 dice? Because you said
6 extra 2.
Oh, extra 2.
So the first thing you do with your blood surge is you roll your rouse check first to see if your hunger goes up.
My rouse check fails.
Okay, so
your
hunger goes up.
3.
And then you roll 6 dice.
Yep.
Because of
hunger
blood surge.
3. Now
am I correct in saying that the extra hunger die doesn't go into it though? Yeah.
Okay.
Not until next
So
time.
Technically, you should roll your rouse check last, although the book tells you.
Okay, sure.
It's confusing.
Okay, that's still a failure. But it's a potential crit, so I've got to go for glory.
Willpower reroll?
I'm trying my willpower reroll.
I think you have 1 willpower left.
7 successes, and that is the end of my willpower.
And then you just say something devastating that he crumbled.
Just to one person.
Sure, yeah. So as you're kind of being hauled away, you turn to one person. They're kind of like sort of dopey-looking, kind of grungy guy with like oily blonde curls and like a kind of like German army jacket and check shirt and stuff. And they kind of blink and say, and kind of go, well, I mean, some of my friends died, like trying to engage you in a serious conversation in the middle of this. That means you have one less person hauling you off, because they're kind of like, they're not hauling you, they're kind of following you and kind of talking to you.
This is a long-term play.
Yeah.
Dopey Minion is going to...
Dopey Minion, yeah. But the other guy's still hauling you off.
Sure.
So with this in mind, and before we get to Arthur, because I feel like Arthur's the climactic point of where we look at all this, are any of the three of you going to actually resist physically what's happening to you?
Alex is definitely not. Alex was going to try something similar to Oscar, but rather than appealing to their dead comrades, it would instead say something like, "Please, we have a shared enemy. There is no need for this."
Okay. Do you want to make a roll on that?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
I think that is quite an earnest appeal. So let's go with charisma plus persuasion. And I think the more kind of generalist nature of it, I'm actually going to ramp up the difficulty a little bit from what Oscar did, because that was meant to be challenging, but he was a little incisive, thing there. So we'll go with difficulty 6. We'll go with difficulty 6.
Well, I was going to do a blood surge, but there's no point when it's that high, so I'm just going to look forward to failing. I can't add my looks to this.
And no, I don't think they're really looking at you right now.
No, it doesn't seem
they're kind of hauling you off to one side.
Okay.
Oh dear.
I received 2 successes.
Okay.
So,
yeah, they're not listening to you. They're just mindlessly howling and dragging you off. I mean, admittedly, they're still doing that to Oscar, but now it's just one of them. So Oscar and Mandrill aren't physically resisting, I think you guys said.
I'd like to keep Arthur in sight if I can.
And I'm not sure how possible that is, but you'll almost certainly hear what's happening. So Arthur, bearing in mind, obviously, that you just have to try and get free and, attack the object of your kind of who derided you and so on and so forth. How are you going to go about that?
Do I have...
Your nightstick, damn straight.
Of the 2 either side of me, I'm going to go for the eyes of one of them and round on the other one and dominate. Get your hands off of me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
The eyes.
Well, then. The thing is, I think they're already... I won't say they've already fully grappled you, because that kind of takes away your agency of what to do as they leap for you. But I'd say that they're in a rough approximation of about to do so. So why don't you give me a dexterity plus brawl roll to try and get the guy.
Apparently I can't use mental disciplines while frenzying.
I did wonder if that would be the case, yes.
I mean, I'm going to say it anyway, but sorry. What was it for gouging the eyes out?
Dexterity plus brawl. Yeah, and obviously this will be against their dexterity plus brawl. And I'm going to say you're rolling there against a difficulty of 4.
Okay, I'm rolling 2 hunger dice, and that is it.
Could still do it.
I could.
Technically speaking.
Do I want to blood surge? Yes.
Sure.
That was messy. I fail that, but now I'm rolling 4 dice, 3. So I haven't started bleeding yet.
That's good.
And I roll 1 success.
Okay.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, you kind of claw at one of their eyes and are like thrashing around and hissing and spitting at them, and they just kind of duck their head, slightly surprised that you're kicking off. Essentially, at first they didn't think you had it in you, so they just kind of duck their head back and just kind of grab your wrist. Basically, this guy is quite a big, bulky guy, grabs your wrist and just smashes you in the face with your own hand.
Oh God.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly. I know this isn't entirely the rules, but I'm just kind of judging because it's not a full combat, right? And I don't think that, technically speaking, they should probably do a certain amount of damage to you. But I'm going to say that it's after you're halving for superficial, it's a bruise, right? Of just slamming your hand in your face. So just take a superficial damage.
All right,
just one.
Seems fair.
Because they weren't being coy about it, and they weren't worried about breaking your wrist or your cheekbone or whatever. But at the same time, it's not a particularly easy way to hurt someone. So,
especially with such flimsy wrists,
it's worth saying that you're rounding on the other one and screaming at them to get their hands off you. Yeah, that achieved nothing. I'd say you all have sort of the space of one round-ish to do more stuff before the end of this, effectively the end of this little confrontation. You don't have to do anything if you feel like, you made your gambit and it didn't work, so I guess you see what happens. I think that's absolutely fine for the purposes of this scene. Obviously, Arthur isn't in that situation. But let's go around one by one. So, Mandrill.
Can I still see Johnny Gallagher? And was he in the group that Arthur or Oscar lambasted?
I don't think you can really. You know what? As you're looking around, you can see Johnny. Yeah, he's not holding on to anyone. He's kind of like. Sort of like walking in a little circle in the middle of it with his hands in the air, just off in his own private world, like directing the chaos.
Well, what I would like to do, I don't have any real offensive social capabilities, but I do have a lot of insight, and I would like to use this opportunity to gather as much information about the relationship between Gallagher and his Anarch tribe, so that I can use that, feed that information to people who are capable of manipulating people.
Sure.
Any weaknesses or things
sure.
like that.
I mean, I can't imagine you can get much information from the current situation, but you're absolutely welcome to make a wits plus insight roll, as to the dynamics here. Based on what you've seen, and I'm not gonna assign a difficulty on it. I'll just give you as much as I think you get by rolling it.
3 successes.
Okay. Johnny seems to have a pretty damn firm hand on these annex, but clearly the woman known as Ula has some role to play. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought her out. These are things I realize you could have come to yourselves, but. I just can't see anything else that you'd get from this.
That's fair enough, especially with only 3 successes.
Oscar, are you doing anything? Or are you just carrying on talking to Goofy Minion?
If I might, what I'd try to do is if I notice that that guy actually seemed to be doubting himself a little bit. He
did a little bit, yeah.
I might try and be turn my attention to person who seems to be nearby or his friend or something and be like, oh yeah, this guy, yeah, no, he's
sure.
yeah, it's a fair point.
See, he's listening to me, sort of thing.
Yeah, he gets it.
Sure.
This is how you get burned to the stake.
Sure. We'll ratchet up the difficulty for this one, I think.
Sure.
But go for it. So another manipulation plus. Did we go for manipulation plus persuasion in the end?
Yeah. Or
manipulation plus persuasion, difficulty 6. Go
at this rate. In a week or 2, you'll have converted all of them.
I'm rolling 4 dice to get 6 successes.
And as Neill pointed out in the private chat, you can still send willpower. It just turns your superficial willpower damage to aggravated willpower damage.
Okay. Good. Well,
So we'll go with the aggravated physical damage you've got.
so that was
Jesus Christ.
a failure with 4 successes. Every one of my dice was a success.
Should have blood surged.
I mean, I could willpower reroll that one to try and get a crit.
But but if it's only one, well, have you got any 10s already?
I've got a 10 on one of my
1 in 10 chance of success.
Actually,
great odds.
no, I'm
in
not
return for an aggravated point.
aggravated willpower chance.
Yeah,
no.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
You could have 2 followers who are burnt at the stake with you.
Yeah. So moving on, Alex.
So where are they dragging us at the moment?
That's a very good question, and no one else asked. They are dragging you towards the edge of the little pier that you're on.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes, fine.
Water. We can't drown.
I don't know that.
You probably don't know. As I say, it's fine to just kind of resign yourself to your fate if you don't. If you feel that's hard to do.
I will then just say, if you do not wish, I need to think of a snappy way of saying it.
We'll take time because we've got plenty of it.
Whatever you do to us, I have seen visions of the Inquisition. You must save yourselves.
Sure. I don't think I'll even ask you for a roll with that. I don't think they're in any state to be willing to listen to about Arcadian visions.
I'm trying to sow seeds for later. I think now is a lost cause.
Yes, and you are quite right. And absolutely. Arthur, what are you doing now that your wrist has been slammed into your face?
Oh, I'm going to continue screaming and thrashing and possibly trying to bite if I can.
Sure.
And screaming in a voice that sounds strangely less posh than it used to, but
yeah. Yeah, sure. Just, I think it's safe to say you are grappled by now. I think it's safe to say. Can you give me a strength plus brawl roll to see if you can kind of basically achieve any of this, or if you're just thrashing mindlessly between the two of them holding you? Let's set their strength plus brawl grapple difficulty. Let's set it at 3. So give me a strength plus brawl roll to see if you. This is just to see if you can break loose enough to try and do any kind of assault on them. Okay,
I will roll this 1 hunger die.
I'm going with no.
And fail.
Sure. Yeah, they're just holding you in place, and you're just kind of thrashing between them.
Narratively, I'm totally okay with this.
Sure.
I mean, yeah.
So we can see what's coming. They haul you to the edge of this jetty out in Camden Lock, and they just kind of like heave you back and go, "Way!" And you all spin through the air and splash into the very cold waters of the canal. Although obviously that cold doesn't particularly bother you, which is, I suppose, the fortunate element of this. As you sort of scramble to the surface and splash about, they line the edges of the jetty and jeer at you and laugh at you. And Johnny Gallagher strides like to the end of the jetty and kind of leans forward and kind of gestures towards where Oscar is kind of splashing about in the water and says, "You know what, Oscar? You're all right. Next time, maybe you should do the talking." And he stands up and wheels round, and they all, jeering and laughing, kind of walk off. I think it's safe to say that everyone needs to roll to see if they take any willpower damage on this. Because I think this is a humiliation, right? So, yeah, composure plus resolve. Let's say that was an intimidation thing. And I think that's a difficulty 4. But I think, oddly, because you shared it all, I'm gonna kind of reduce the damage it does, if you see what I mean.
Oh man,
I
don't get any boot.
So who? I know that Neill made the roll. Who did anyone else make the roll there?
Can I spend willpower? I might spend willpower on it. I'm not sure.
You can't. Can you spend? Yeah, you can spend willpower. Of course you can. Yeah.
But of course, you might take damage as willpower.
I rolled 5 dice and got 3 successes. Unfortunate.
Convert one of them superficial to an aggravated, and Alex take a superficial willpower damage.
I rolled.
Sorry,
5 dice.
Oh no, yeah, sorry, you did it. Yeah, sorry.
Got no successes and a bestial failure.
Oh my god.
We'll get to that in a second.
Is Arthur even aware enough to roll this? He's just going, ah.
Well, like frenzy ends when the situation ends, right? And the thing that
I would actually be perfectly happy. You have essentially, I don't know. Yeah, I think the shock of hitting the canal water. I'm happy to judge that the frenzy ends at that point. Certainly by the point you are crawling, spitting, and dripping out of the canal, and the annex are no longer in sight.
So that's a bestial failure.
Okay, yeah. Mandrill, what did you get?
So I succeeded with willpower. So I take my 1 willpower. I'd still take willpower damage.
It would have been the same result either way, but yeah.
But but at least I don't feel shamed by it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's the little victories.
I like how
another thing to just mention is that I didn't say this because we were talking, but I had no desire at the start of the session, so I changed my desire to get out of this with everyone alive. So if at any point we're out of this and everyone is alive, that is my desire.
Sure. Arthur, bestial failure. Oh boy, Arthur has not had a good night. So I think I'm going to judge for this particular situation. You know what? Don't take that 1 point of superficial willpower damage. Take 2 points of aggravated willpower damage.
Ooh.
I think you are the coteries Ventru. You are supposedly traditionally their leader, and you have been brutally humiliated, and you lost control while doing so. I think that's a fair punishment for that bestial failure.
Oh, man. I like how also I was shamed because he said I was the best. I was the person who should have been chatting. It's like, you're just as bad as Oscar at negotiating. And I'm like, oh. You really Oscared it.
Sorry, Justin, can you explain what you've written in chat? Sorry, it is fine to talk about actual in-game things on screen.
So one of the things that we've done in terms of slowing down our willpower recovery is say that you can only achieve a desire and recover willpower every other session, and I did it last session, so I think I achieved my desire.
That's not desires. I see what you mean. Yeah.
So I because I recovered 1 willpower from desire last session. This session I achieve the desire if we get out of it, but I won't recover willpower. Does that make sense? Or
it depends. This gets complicated. It depends which we consider to be the first part of the session, if you see what I mean.
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind. Willing for other people to come to weigh in on it. I've no care.
I think the desire thing. Like that's not per session. The willpower recovery is the composure or resolve amount, isn't it?
Desire recovers 1 willpower. You can recover 1 willpower per session when you meet your desire. But we split that into 1 every other session because of things. But I think the last time we discussed it, because desires can fail mid-session and succeed some sessions, I think we just said as long as last session you didn't recover it, you can this session, rather than trying to keep track of
that makes
is
sense.
A desire session or not.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, then that's fine. So unfortunately, no extra willpower for Mandrill.
This is not really relevant, but I had resolved the Anarch situation as my desire, so I think I failed that one. So I need a new one now.
I think that's well, unless you want to, they're still here.
I don't consider
for future things. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the coteries doing next. If the coteries' immediate next plan is let's work out a plan to get these guys, then maybe it could stay. But of course, it's up to you. Everyone, I'm assuming you're not staying out in the canal, and therefore everyone is splashing to shore.
Yeah, I'm going into my leisurely backstroke. making my way.
I am
to the shore.
slightly considering just letting myself sink to the bottom of the lock for a few hours.
Did
But
we
yes,
follow them?
I'm getting.
Why did we follow them? Why?
Followed Arthur.
Shut up.
Anyway,
Jeez, I feel there has been enough antagonism from the Anarchs. Sadly, I believe this evening it was our information that was to blame. If we had known there were at least 10 of them, perhaps things would have gone differently. But we have learnt that as valuable information. There are 10 of them.
I appreciate the sentiment.
Exactly 10.
There
of
must
them.
be at least 10.
There is at least 10 of them. Yeah. I don't think anyone ever said they wanted to get a precise count. So I think I'm happy for you to think there's between 10 and 12 of them, which isn't a massive variance.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Sure. We should get out of these wet clothes.
I believe we should return to the Haven, and we can update. And when we write our letters to my friends, we can pass on another message to the landlord that there are at least 10 of these Anarchs. I'm saying this reasonably quietly, by the way, just in case they happen to be. I mean, if that obfuscated next was nothing I can do about that, but
sure.
And we say nothing else about this evening.
We say that we encountered them. They were most disagreeable to our polite overtures. They threatened us, and we left. And we learned that there were at least 10 of them. They threatened us and the Camarilla.
Yeah.
Alex looks reasonably happy with himself, or with himself.
Okay.
I look very happy with myself.
I feel duty bound, by the way, given your list of tasks. If you're planning on a kind of MMO optimization of doing all the quests in one area, although I imagine you don't feel like going there now in dripping clothes, but I do feel duty bound to tell you that Regent's Park, the territory of Rowena, is literally a couple of streets over from Camden Market.
And
it's entire. I can understand that perhaps the characters would not especially want to go meet another kindred.
Would any of the characters bring this up?
How did Rowena?
All of you have lived in London. All of you are aware of how close Regent's Park is, so it's up to you guys.
Sure, but would any of the characters bring it up?
Well, I was supposed to. Alex. Alex probably would. Alex is fine. Alex hasn't taken aggravated willpower.
Yeah. I'm fine too.
Perhaps Arthur, as you have suffered quite a unnecessary insult,
Alex.
An unnecessary insult from those we met. Perhaps you could go back to the Haven and assist Oscar with writing the careful letters to Anasoff, whilst Mandrill and I can go to Rowena, who is nearby. We know Rowena's a gangrel, don't we?
Jack's notes very strongly suspected she was gangrel, yes.
If
she's not going to care that we're messy.
Indeed, and moreover, she, sadly, despite the fact that she was one of our organization, she may be more appreciative to those of us of a lower clan.
That is a very good idea. I am quite done with talking to people who don't listen.
Me too, Arthur.
Let's go home, Oscar.
Yeah, let's go.
I am sure that, I wish you the most pleasant rest of the evening that you may have. We will report back what we discover.
I give Alex a terse smile and walk away.
As like Arthur heads off, I think I sort of go like tap Alex on the shoulder and go like, "Yeah, good job, well played."
I will grab Oscar slightly and say,
Yeah.
"Please be wary of him. Do not offend him. This happens to all of us."
Noted.
And then I'll pretend that never happened and turn to Manuel and say, "Very good. Please lead on."
I think it's yes. Let's go down this street.
Sure. Let's. So we're obviously we'll split up the group a little bit here, but Arthur and Oscar, are you going to have any particular conversation on your way back to Mayfair, or is Arthur just kind of walking in steely silence?
Steely silence, I think.
Yeah, I'll definitely at various points be like, and then look over and be like.
Absolutely. Well then, while those two, if those two retreat back to the Haven, let's scoot them off screen while the other two go investigating in Regent's Park. While I readjust my cap a little bit. So, anyone who's gone to Regent's Park obviously will be familiar with it, but for those of you who haven't, which is probably many people watching this, Regent's Park is a very large park space in London, a very open park space in London as well, for the most part, set on one kind of large, long, rolling hill. It has many different structures and different areas on its grounds, and as you enter into the region of Regent's Park itself, you kind of pass a few of these kind of old manor houses that have been given, some of them now have charities running out of them, some of them still occupied by aristocrats, and of course at the far end of Regent's Park from where you're entering in, there is London Zoo within the boundary of Regent's Park. Let's have a picture of Regent's Park by night up, which is a very specific source book.
Only Gangrel.
Only Gangrel. There is Regent's Park by night. Very nice.
I assume it's not that nice in the world of darkness.
You know what? Yeah, it is. It's an upper class. It's a fairly, well maintained park. A lot of money's been pumped into it. Perhaps off the that main trail with the nice lighting, things might get a little bit grimmer, but enough money has been pumped into it that it's certainly reasonable. You enter at the southern end of Regent's Park here, looking down along that long slope to the north. What are you doing?
I don't like these parks. I feel exposed.
Alex will turn on heightened senses and just stand for a second and try to, I don't know, detect vibrations in the ground as a gangrel burrows towards us. I don't know.
Sure. Put your ear to the ground. You can't hear a gangrel, but you can hear some.
In fact, yes, Alex will almost theatrically just squat down and put their ear to the ground.
Sure.
Trying to see what Sense the Beast can do on this again, but I don't think it's a lot.
You can sense.
I think you need to be aware of them in order.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right. Okay.
I think you can detect imminent dangers that you're not entirely unaware of.
Yeah, but you can't. It's not like a kind of radar, like a beast radar. No. Yeah, sure. Sure. Well, you're right on the edge of Regent's Park here, and your heightened senses are on. You're paying attention. Are you going to proceed down that long main pathway? I'm not saying that there is one central pathway in real Regent's Park, but in the world of darkness there is, and it's this one on screen.
Yes, and engage in mild, innocuous small talk with Mindrill.
Sure.
Might make occasional references, like subtle references to wolves and people who enjoy, and I don't know, old time.
People who are crazy, moon crazy.
Yeah, just vague references that are completely completely obscure.
Things that would not violate any compacts we have.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in public is one that you cannot see anyone else.
Even so, somehow paranoia seems very sensible.
Sure, absolutely. So as you're walking along, you're walking for a good 5 or 10 minutes through the park. You know, it's a very large space. Can you both give me resolve plus awareness rolls, please? And is there a customary amount of dice to add for heightened senses, or is it just
or specs rating?
Or specs rating. Then go ahead and do that, please.
And instincts? Or is it not quite appropriate? It doesn't feel like it's appropriate.
I think it's very appropriate.
Okay.
You're saying finance small business isn't going to be appropriate then?
Not quite. But yeah, again, there's no difficulty. I'll just give you,
This is the best awareness roll Mandrill has ever rolled. Has the most successes Mandrill has ever or will ever get on an awareness roll.
Is it 2?
It's 6.
Okay.
Alex also has 6 with the critical.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. Both of you at exactly the same time come to a halt. The hairs on the back of your neck start rising up. There is something in the darkness around you. It's watching you and it's hunting you.
Are we deep in the park?
Mm-hmm.
I will exchange a brief glance at Mandrill to make sure she too has felt what I have felt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going for a complete lack of subtlety. Well, it appears that we have found the one we have come to speak to. Marvelous.
About 50 feet away down the path, kind of in the direction you're walking, a figure steps out of the darkness beyond the reach of those tall lamps, and starts walking very slowly, calmly down the path towards you.
What is that, Alex? Well, I suppose if I can see them, can I sense that they are a vampire?
Can Sense Beast sense vampires?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
It can detect vampires, ghouls, and even hunger, things like that.
Cool. Presumably with variants of difficulties.
Yeah. So they can make a subterfuge plus I think it is composure. Yeah, composure plus subterfuge to resist my resolve.
Sure. Let's call that a 2. So make your roll.
3 successes.
Oh, this is Kindred.
Okay, then I relax a lot more.
You can sense the predator within her, like under the surface, not snarling. It doesn't have its fangs or its talons out, but it is there.
Oh, I can also detect whether they're a werewolf or not, which is actually quite cool. I didn't realise that. It's not ghouls, it's vampires or werewolves and things like that.
And for 3 successes, you can also tell that she is not the only beast here.
Okay. Great.
She walks towards you. She's tall and broad, clearly perhaps a bodybuilder or some similar thing in life, wearing slacks, black t-shirt, and a baseball cap. She has shoulder-length blonde hair tied back, and many freckles on her face. She moves with confidence in a way that perhaps reminds you of something like a big cat, just kind of casually walking forward, coiled power underneath the surface. She walks up to within 10 feet or so of you, unless you want to do something as she's walking that distance.
I will stop in a friendly manner. I'll stop and just wait, not impatiently, not aggressively or anything like that.
She walks up to that 10 feet distance, crosses her arms, and says, "Go on."
Good evening. I am Alex, and this is Mandrill. We have been asked to speak with you by those of us who have recently returned to London.
Anasoff told me.
The leaders of our group wish to speak with you about things that more senior people speak about. I apologize for my vagueness. I have been told one can never be too careful in this place.
She looks over at Mandrill and indicates at Alex and says, "Do they speak for you?"
Does Alex or
I will look vaguely offended.
I'm really having trouble. By the way, apologies to certain people watching, specifically Chris, because I'm having real trouble tuning into this Irish accent. She has an Irish accent. I'm making it sound
Cool.
Scottish. I can
I'm
do
loving
an
it.
Irish accent.
I'm
I
loving it.
promise you.
is that the same as your Scouse accent?
No, my Scouse accent is very good.
I'm sorry. Just don't upset the storyteller in Regent's Park.
It's good advice.
You mean the Scots woman?
Yeah.
Sorry. So she just asked Mandrill if Alex speaks for her.
Mm-hmm.
I speak for myself when I need to.
And what do they want to talk about?
About London and about, I believe, making it a better place for all of us once again.
What makes you think I want that? Fucking Scottish. It's just relentlessly Scottish.
We had been led to believe that you were involved in the city structure prior to events. And I believe they were hoping to speak to you again and benefit from your experiences. If you would like us to depart, please say no more.
I am absolutely mangling this, so I'm going to cut the accent. I was a sheriff.
Well, our bosses are taking an interest in London again. And they've sent us here. And they've sent us here today as well. I think they're going to be taking interest in London for some time. And it may be worth at least finding out from them what they say they intend to do with it.
And either supporting them in these efforts, dissuading them if they could be
I've got
improved.
no interest in politics anymore.
Well, neither does the leader of our expedition. He's a man of few words and stronger actions.
And regardless of your interest in them, I believe that staying safe is the most important factor in this city. And if you know, then you are hopefully more likely to be safe.
Tell your leaders, if you want to fight them, the Inquisition, then you come here. Then I'll talk. Otherwise, I've no interest. But if you want extra bodies, I can provide that. A low growling starts in the darkness around you.
Alex will attempt to remain unperturbed and will say, of course, we can pass this on. And I apologize if I am at all presumptuous, saying that with the vaguest looks of what's going on around. But if we are new to the city, and if there is any key piece of information you can tell us that would prevent our destruction or allow us to continue surviving beyond obvious things like not being stupid or fleeing, we would be gracious for your wisdom. But if not, we will simply pass on your message.
Find yourself a strong place and ready your defenses.
Thank you. You are not the first to say it, and so it carries more weight with the telling.
I guess it's important to know this isn't some Ventru jolly, you know? This is, we're all involved. They're not just sending diplomatic missions with, toffs talking words about what they're going to do in the future. Wynn's serious about this.
You misunderstand. I was a Camarilla loyalist. I enforced the traditions for decades. It's not that I don't believe Nosferatu, or that somehow I've grown so terribly weary of the politics that I feel no need to join you in your little reclamation of a Camarilla stronghold. I'm saying that the only way to reclaim this city is to fight them directly, brutally, viciously, and with no remorse. If you want to do that, come here. Alex.
Did she show any sign of recognition at the name Wynn?
Give me a wits plus insight roll.
I was hoping that she would.
Difficulty 4.
You know what? I have willpower to burn, unlike some people. 4.
There was a flicker across her face when you said that, but you're not sure what it means.
Okay.
Are we? She seems to have basically she doesn't seem to be she's waiting for you to walk off.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
Yeah. Then Alex will simply say, "Well, I believe we have taken up enough of your time this evening. Thank you for receiving us, and we will gladly pass on your message."
She nods slightly and just stands there waiting for you to retreat.
Then
I will nod and turn.
Follow suit.
As you turn, you see a figure sort of bounding off into the shadows behind you, rather closer than you would have thought without you picking up on their presence. Maybe a large dog of some kind.
Cool. They like dogs. I'm gonna. It's cool. Loving it.
I take it we are retreating from Regent's Park at this point.
Yeah, probably taking the most direct route to an urban scape.
Yeah, away from my terrible accent skills.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. You leave Regent's Park. Are you heading back to Down Street at this point?
Unless there's anywhere else convenient we can go on the way, I don't believe so.
No, the other task you have is definitely over in Limehouse, which is very much not on the way back to Mayfair.
So do we think that...
Sorry.
Do we think that there's not going to be very many other, missions that we're doing this evening?
That's up to you.
Well, then I'll join Alex, go back to...
Actually, is the Haven on the way
On the way to Limehouse? No.
Nah,
Limehouse
we'll just go back and then we can regroup.
is east along the Thames, just past the city of London.
I thought so.
Whereas this is kind of northwest.
Let's just go back first.
Okay. You head on back. Is there anything you're kind of doing along the way? I would say that you're as I said, I think I said it off screen at the beginning when we were prepping for this, but I said that your herd the week has passed and the herd has come to you. So if you want Mandrill, you could always drop in at the sleep therapy clinic and get your herd for the week.
Sure.
That's in Mayfair as well. Are you going to? Are you happy with Alex knowing what you're doing and where you're going, or are you kind of making some excuses?
I don't know. I actually think I'll leave it. I'll save onto my herd for another time. I've only got one. I've only got 2 hunger, so it's not critical.
Sure. Okay, you head back to Down Street then. Let's bring everyone back on. Arthur, Oscar, what have you been doing in the meantime?
Taking a bath.
I will have when we got back, having very tactfully, surprisingly for Oscar, remained silent for the duration. I think I'll go up to Arthur and start and say, I did notice what you did there. It was very smart. You got some of his blood. Do you mind if I? And then I gesture towards the handkerchief.
Of course.
Thanks.
As long as it hasn't washed away.
I'm going to leave that to chance. Give me a D10 roll, like a rouse check, right? And if the rouse check succeeds, the blood is still on it. If it doesn't, it's not.
That's disgusting.
Sorry, I just had one of those moments where I shouldn't look at chat while I'm trying to be serious. Excuse me, sir. May I lick your jacket?
Oh dear.
I was going for the handkerchief.
Yeah, that's what I thought as
John,
well.
Could you make that roll? By the way, that's
Which one, John or Oscar?
Oh, me
Arthur or Pierre. Sorry,
John. Hence my use of the word John.
Sorry, could you tell me what it was again? I thought you meant Oscar.
A rouse check.
The rouse check to see if the blood has washed off properly when you dunked into the river.
Succeed.
Okay, there is still enough blood for you to run your vampire-y magic over it.
Oh my god!
I think
you suckle at Arthur's jacket a little.
I'm a little hungry, so is it possible for me to drink before this or not? Or is it like?
I mean, is it? What are you? How are you drinking? You tell me.
I was going to get that horrible leftover mangy blood.
Well, you still have a bag of mangy blood, don't you?
I have. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
You just scraping that bottom of that barrel tonight.
What can I say?
Licking the cloth off the bottom of it.
You can prepare for the cloth blood with a bag of
cold, rancid horribleness. Look, I drink this, so you don't have to.
Absolutely filthy Tremere.
What is that, and where did you get it from?
This is something I found.
Fuck. That's just worse. That's just worse.
Chat says chunky blood casserole.
What can I say? I'm never afraid of it.
I'm fairly sure is a traditional Yorkshire meal, but
exactly.
Yeah, sure. Well, you have your rules for taste of vitae there. If it's
a taste for blood. Indeed, I am doing it. It's resolve plus blood sorcery, which is 6 dice, and I'm now, because I've slaked 1 hunger from that horrible stuff, I'm on 2 hunger, and I'm rolling it. And I did not blood surge, but I got 3 successes. So that is, and the difficulty is 3. So with a win, the user can determine the resonance and intensity of the blood. If human, they can also identify whether the blood belongs to a mortal or a ghoul or a vampire. It also determines the relative blood potency, and so the likely generation of a vampire, if it is a vampire. And then there's stuff about critical wins, which I did not get.
Sure. So is the idea that you don't get? I mean, vampiric blood doesn't have resonance, right? Or does it?
You get the resonance if it was a human.
If they're mortal, okay.
But you also get whether.
Yeah, absolutely. Unsurprisingly, Johnny Gallagher is a vampire. Johnny Gallagher's blood potency. So your blood potency is 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when it says relative blood potency, I'm assuming it doesn't want me to give you a stat. It wants me to say Johnny Gallagher's blood potency is a little bit more concentrated and potent than yours, but not by much.
Okay. Because it says, and thus the likely generation band. So I can possibly tell that he's
therefore, likely generation is a little bit older than yours, but not much.
Okay, well, that's useful.
Although the blood potency to generation thing is by no means a 1-to-1. It's basically just starting characters. It's a range. So.
In fact, unless the blood is vastly more potent, he could still be the same generation as us, just older.
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay.
That's I mean, probably older.
Probably
but it's
older.
Also,
more powerful. Yeah.
Cool.
Indeed.
Useful.
Very much so.
Thank you very much, Arthur. And I hand you back your.
Keep it.
Much appreciated. And I go, but I should probably wash it first.
Yes.
Before
I'm going to go get changed. Once I've done that, meet me in the conference room to write those letters.
Okay.
I'm going to say that Arthur is probably going to take quite a while to get changed because he's going through some things.
Yes.
So I'm happy for Alex and Mandrill to have arrived back. It wasn't too long a walk to Regent's Park, and the interaction did not exactly take that long. And it wasn't like they had to go hunting all night. So I'm happy for everyone to be in the conference room. You can write letters, and Mandrill and Alex can inform you of the events in Regent's Park.
How'd it go?
Yeah, well.
Yes, it went quite well. Rowena was most accommodating. She was the sheriff of London before, and she only wished to speak with the elders if they wished to fight the Inquisition.
Very reasonable.
Very reasonable. She believed it was only worth talking about retaking London or having any form of survival, really, if they are utterly defeated.
I mean, you would never, Oscar, you haven't really seen it, but it's not surprising at all that a former sheriff wanted to knock heads together.
That was what they were like.
And are like.
And are like.
I know you haven't seen it yet, Oscar, but when you visit one of our cities, it's going to be a real eye-opener for you, trust me.
I look forward to it. It must have been nice to have a sort of relaxing conversation with somebody on your side.
Yeah. She's quite intimidating.
Oh, well.
I mean, she'd give this Gallagher a run for his money.
Well, that's good, I suppose, that we have somebody who can do that on our side.
Well, our side, her own side, nobody's side.
Yeah. I get the feeling that we have to really work to have allies in this town.
Have you ever had, Oscar, maybe you remember from, never mind. I'm going to abandon this analogy before I go too deep into it. I get accused of being some kind of anarch again.
Well, if we really need to work on having allies, maybe we should actually sit down and finish writing this letter, Oscar.
Okay, yes, sorry. Yeah. I'm all over the place today. And I take the pen and I continue penning. What exactly are we trying to convey?
Is there any evidence that you've just been licking blood? Like, is there like maybe is the handkerchief still on a table somewhere that we could be disgusted at?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Oh, yeah, it's there. I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll put it away. Oh, that reminds me. Yes, I tasted some of the blood of Gallagher. He is indeed a vampire. Although we might have expected that.
I like the idea there's a slight silence after this, which Oscar misinterprets as they're impressed.
I'm glad you didn't bury the lead on that one.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think he is particularly old and necessarily particularly potent. So there might be hope that, I don't know, he's a bit more bluster than he seemed.
Oh, fantastic. So it's probably just his vastly superior numbers we have to worry about.
To be honest, I think if we cut off the head of that snake,
okay,
the rest will follow shortly.
Oh, goodness.
So
Oscar.
for our letter to the elders about Rowena, I believe that we can recite the words exactly as Manuel and I heard them, and they can be passed on.
Okay.
Yes.
And what do we tell them of what happened?
Well, we need discuss nothing with them at the moment. It is simply Anasov we must inform.
Okay.
I believe.
Well, about the annex in Camden, I guess.
Well, we probably should let them know, again, the same thing that we told Anasov. There were at least 10 of them. They were most hostile towards us and the Camarilla.
Okay.
And they did not take the Inquisition threat terribly seriously.
Yeah.
Although, they were positioned in an area without security cameras. So it is possible that they are blustering somewhat.
Oh, one other thing. When in the fray, there was one of them who mentioned the fact that some of his friends died when they last went to ground. I don't think that they're necessarily shifting around just purely because they want to. I think they're being driven. Maybe, I don't know whether this is worth sharing with them, the elders, these wild speculations, but
they did say they had come from the north, just as the Sabbat did.
And there was something bad in the north, right?
A devouring presence, I believe.
Maybe they were driven here by the same that exact thing. I don't know. Anyway,
Gallagher did at one point sort of mock the idea when Arthur put it forth that they had fled north from the Inquisition.
Yeah.
Fled south, rather. Fled from the north.
Maybe they'd fled from something.
You don't really flee from the Inquisition to London.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Should I?
Or unless you're an idiot.
But they had left.
Yeah. So I think you penned these letters perfectly fine, and a ghoul can take them to the rooftop to be sent by pigeon to. Well, they all do go to Anasov, but then they're rerouted to.
We assume.
Presumably to various.
If he wants.
Yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't read them. When would a Nosferatu try and gather as much information as possible? So, yeah, I'd say, shall we put a nail in the coffin, so to speak, of this evening? Unless there's anything very quick anyone wants to carry out.
Not very quick, but I think that at some point I would like to take Oscar to extend down to have another word with this King of Shadows and extend a similar offer of meeting the elders.
Sure, I think a quest to find the King of Shadows probably cannot be carried out in the remainder.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So we'll unless there's anything from Arthur, Alex.
I'm just going to make myself feel better, order one ghoul to take my canal suit to the dry cleaners during the day, and another ghoul to start cleaning out one of the rooms in the lower levels for me to move into and have my own space. For reasons.
It's actually towards the middle of the structure.
Well, there. Whatever. That one with all the desks.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then we'll cross over and sorry, Alex.
What time was it?
Like
Is it late? Basically,
four in the
early?
morning. Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, nothing else. I'll tidy my rooms.
Sure. So we wake the next evening. Go ahead and give me a rouse check.
Oh no, this is my least favorite part. Oh, one success.
Alex
Oh,
is lucky tonight.
Looks like everyone has succeeded.
Yep. No
Excellent.
hunger.
Yep.
How unexpected. So obviously you have your own tasks as well as those that have been set by the elders, and let's just touch base on what you're expecting from some of those, and if you're waiting responses, and if so, from where, etc. And I'll just quickly hop between you and we'll talk about those. Most of these we've already discussed in some capacity, but some of them might be slightly sprung on you, but that adds to the fun of it, right? So let's start with Mandrel. So Mandrel, I believe I'm correct in saying that you have been trying to pick up, as you've been, bumbling around over the last few weeks, you've been trying to pick up some information on an individual who lives in southwest London, who you know as Mr. Robson.
That's true.
Specifically, Mr. Robson runs a carpentry business. And is it fair to say that the main way you've been trying to kind of find him and keep tabs on him is by checking in on his business and if it's still active and things like that?
Yeah, things like that. And also, I imagine it's probably not so active anymore because he's very old. But yes, but you tell me.
I'll tell you. Robson Woodworking seems to absolutely still be active. As a carpentry business that has branched out into essentially sort of apprenticeship program, and with night classes and things like that, but still taking on some carpentry work, but generally a kind of a little hive of woodworking activity. Seems to be still open. When you go and visit the website, which was definitely not made by Mr. Robson, It has a picture of him, though, on it, kind of teaching someone how to use a lathe. And kind of his picture is scattered all around. He looks in good health.
Great, that's really good news. I'm glad to hear that.
Is there? I believe Mandrel had certain interest in seeing Mr. Robson again. Is there any? Does Mandrel take any steps towards that? You could. Well, email is prohibited. But smart people know ways maybe around that.
Yeah, I mean, I
burner email accounts and the like.
Well, I operate my own small carpentry business, and so I have a company email account, and that's one way of doing it. I might reach out. Possibly under pretense of seeking either advice or maybe talking about maybe passing on some work that doesn't quite fit my expertise to another local crafts person.
Sure. I know you said a company account. This is definitely still in contravention of Camarilla rules. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that you are aware it is.
Yeah.
Certainly at your level it is.
They can deal with it.
Yeah, sure. You send out an email to Robson's Woodworking. Are you identifying yourself by name?
I probably have not as much as a mask, but I probably have a name under which I operate, even if it is just like a kind of username that isn't Mandrel and isn't.
Well, it wouldn't be Mandrel anyway because
Mandrel.
And isn't my character's human name. So but under that, I don't have an idea about what that is because that would be a third name that I've had to invent. I haven't done it yet.
I mean, you could just invent a name and send it from the company email account. I think that's fine.
Sure.
But what specifically are you proffering?
I think what I would say is it'd be nice to meet up and talk about like either a knowledge exchange or like a mutual exchange of clients. Like this is what I specialize in, and if somebody comes to you with a job that is more because I'm one of the things that Mandrel does to earn money is she crafts little puzzle boxes, which are quite like finicky jobs. So I might say, you know, if anyone comes to you wanting that, this is my, you know, we could talk about that. And if someone comes to me doing whatever kind of work that Mr. Robson's now specialising in, I can send them his way.
It is furniture, by the way. Crafted.
It's furniture.
Custom made crafted furniture.
That makes sense. And then and we could have a meeting to talk over the particulars one evening.
Sure. I think that's fine. Cool. You send that email off. Moving on to Alex. Alex, you have been attempting for some while to make contact with Dr. Grace Wright, a former teacher of yours or lecturer of yours at university, I believe. That's correct, right? Yeah.
That is correct.
Tell us how specifically you've been attempting to get into contact.
Well, I cannot use email, sadly.
That would be dangerous. No one should do that.
Instead, assuming in various bits of quiet time, I will have spoken to Nasir, found out when I spoke to Nasir that time many nights ago, found out that Grace is still working where she was before, where she is now, and I will have, if I had enough time, I'll have tried to drop by at some point and leave a message with the staff or with a receptionist, and if not, I will probably have written a letter by this point if I've not been able to get in contact that way.
I think it's safe to say that just by making calls, you probably haven't been able to, without a personal number, you haven't been able to get in touch because the receptionist will have gone home by the time you are making those calls. But I think a letter is absolutely fine. Now, can you tell me, please, what does Nasir currently have any way to contact you?
Oh, no.
No, definitely not. Okay. That's fine.
I don't even have a phone, I believe.
Sure, but I didn't know if there was a dead drop or something like that, you know. Do you have any way to check in with Nasir?
I know his address.
Sure. Are you dropping in on him when you get the chance?
You know what? I will have asked his phone number, and I will use payphones.
That's fine. Yes. So let's say at the beginning of the evening, maybe you're checking in on Nasir, just giving him a ring before the labours of the evening start up. He answers the phone. Alex?
Good evening.
I knew it was you. I mean, yes. No one else calls me from random payphones, but still I felt it. You know, I felt it.
Of course. I take it you have been well.
I have. I want to talk to you. Did you reach out to Dr. Wright?
I did, although I have been unable to reach her thus far. Have you had more success on passing on a message for me?
Yes, she said she got your letter. She called me. She said she didn't know how to respond, but she wondered if we were still in contact, and, well, we are.
Yes. How about we meet at your apartment tonight, or at some point in the near future? I will let you know what my plans are for the next few nights.
Well, I'll try and get in touch with her tomorrow. I've got her office number, and I'll call it, and we'll arrange it. We'll arrange it. But yeah, how do I let you know, Alex? Where are you?
I am still having to move between addresses at the moment, unfortunately. But when I have something stable, I will let you know.
All right. Well, keep checking in, and I'll try and ring me tomorrow night. I'll try and have arranged something by then.
I will see what I can do, but please, if I do not call, do not be alarmed. My work at the moment simply takes me away for nights at a time. It is why I cannot give you a permanent address.
All right, and if Dr. Wright doesn't want to come to London, you'll still see me soon, right?
She is no longer here.
No.
Oh. Well, where is she these days?
She didn't seem to want to say.
Oh, what a shame! What a shame! But
But
yes,
she said she
I
could
am.
be here quickly.
Oh, I am sure she has simply moved out to a suburb or something. Well, rest assured. Rest assured.
Okay. Okay. You are going to have to hang up on him.
Well, I am afraid my colleague is calling me, but I do wish you the best of evenings.
All right. I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon, Alex. I'll see you soon.
Of course, Nasir. Goodbye.
Oh man,
Calling you at the payphone.
it's so good.
I use different payphones.
Sure.
Yeah, but your colleague is calling you at this different payphone.
Arthur. I believe your next kind of points are kind of solidifying your relationship with Harry, who is your supplier, and also trying to build a herd via kind of attending more parties and kind of building up that kind of situation. Yes.
Yes, and also trying to contact people I knew on the continent.
Yes. So, how does Harry get a hold of you? There was talk of a PO box.
Yes, that will probably do it. I mean, I am calling into Club Valiant at the very least every week, but also periodically. But the PO box is also being checked daily, I think.
Okay. So you kind of a ghoul comes to you with something from the PO box, which is a kind of a note from Harry, which says, kind of glad we could come to an arrangement. There's another after party later this week. Could be some good money to be made, and gives you the details of it. Again, at Club Valiant.
I will make a note of that in my diary, but also send a message, possibly through Arshad, to Cortland, because I promised him he could be my +1 at the next after party.
Sure, yeah.
As long as he behaved.
Yes. So you're sending that message via Arshad rather than via Pigeon?
I thought the Pigeon goes to Anasov and Arshad
but then
goes
it can be rerouted to Cortland. I'm just saying, if you want access to Arshad, you're going to have to ask his Domitor, which is Oscar. Technically speaking, you could try and go behind his back, but
I'm going to ask Oscar. I'm going to ask Oscar.
Sure. Oscar, as you walk into the room, Oscar is rifling through what looks like a small stack of CVs, which is a bit of a prologue of where we're going with Oscars. Go for it.
Oscar, I need to borrow your courier.
Can't use the pigeons?
I could if I wanted Anasov reading all of my post.
Fair point. I'm not sure where Arshad is.
He steps through the doorway.
Oh, hi Arshad. Wow, you always do that. So
I'm here, Oscar. I'm always ready.
Yep. You've been eating all right?
Kind of mutely.
Oh yes, Arshad. This is Arthur. Yeah, you know Arthur. Yes. What
Arshad,
is it that you
take this letter
wanted?
to Cortland.
Yeah, do that. That sounds good. Oh, sorry, please. Thanks.
Arshad kind of takes the message off Arthur and looks over at Oscar and says, "To Cortland, yes?"
Yep, to Cortland.
He nods and walks out immediately, and you can hear him kind of walking up the stairs to the...
He's so fast.
You really aren't going to gain anything from being soft with him.
Yeah, but I'm not going to lose anything either.
Time, energy, whatever. Thank you.
Patience.
Anytime.
So that is Arthur's business taken care of. Oscar, you have a stack of CVs in front of you for an assistant at the Hunter's Watch, which is your antiquarian book and relic store.
Yes.
And on looking through these CVs, 3 of them immediately leap out at you in different ways. There's a gentleman called David, who seems to be a very experienced manager of small shops, kind of has a decent CV, really decent CV, and seems to have been kind of made redundant recently. And though your shop is a little smaller than what he's used to, he'd probably run the shop very well. Then there's someone, and their CV is kind of like, it's printed on multicolored paper, and it's got a kind of like odd font choice and stuff like that. And they literally just list themselves as Roni rather than Veronica. And they're an art history student. And they've written it in quite a self-consciously quirky, kind of eccentric way, and make it clear that they're familiar with the shop. They've been in a couple of times before, and they're really interested in art history and the kind of relics you have in there. And it'd be great to work in that kind of environment. They seem a fun, enthusiastic young person. They list that they are I think I mentioned they're an art history student.
Yeah,
postgrad. And then there's someone called Junius, and their CV comes in the form of a side of written notes that don't list previous jobs. They list their academic qualifications, which are significant. They possess 2 PhDs. And they go into quite some detail about how they are definitely the right choice for the job, because they understand the significance of the material you have in your shop. And essentially, unless you're reading it wrong, they are at various points alluding to not overt vampirism, but certainly the kind of things you have in your shop are occult things of significance. And not only do they have the knowledge and the wherewithal to run the shop, but also the necessary knowledge of controls should something go wrong.
Oh man,
dude.
Right. So, which one of these a Second Inquisition spy?
Obviously, you can interview them all.
Oh,
should you want to?
I mean,
I'll happily spend an entire session of London Ascendant of Oscar interviewing 3 candidates.
So good. I would happily
won't
that happen too.
May I suggest that there are 3 players, so each of us could play one of these.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Gibbs Roney. I mean,
that's the one that we should hire.
Yeah. My initial gut is definitely tending towards the Roni person.
Yeah.
I am a little scared of the Junius fellow.
Junius is good. Junius is a more accomplished version of Oscar pre-embrace, and that just means that like they're going to get embraced faster than you, and then be a better vampire than you, and replace you. So you don't want that one at all.
Unless Oscar thinks that's a way that he can become prince by embracing this person, blood-bonding them, and then letting them.
Yeah.
No.
Also, with Roni, she's quite young probably, so you wouldn't have to ghoul her for ages.
What's this about ghouling?
Yeah, you don't like ghouling people, so like that's a big plus. The other 2, you'll have to ghoul like that just to keep them on staff. 10 years go by, boom, ghoul them.
On the other hand, there was literally one person who submitted the CV with any sort of commercial background.
Yeah, clearly.
Are you trying to run a business?
Yeah, are we just throwing David out?
He's clearly a member of the Inquisition.
I don't know.
He's too boring to be real.
It's exactly what a member of the Inquisition would submit as a CV to that job.
And that's why you look at their references.
It's so hard to make a decision.
They can fake those.
I love that you I'm not giving away, maybe I am, but I love that you think the Second Inquisition is sort of at the level of power in London, where they have to try and get a vampire by subterfuge, submitting a CV to work at their shop.
Yeah, well,
rather than just turning up there with phosphor round shotguns.
that is another way. That is how they've actually approached us in the past. And
Maybe
I think
the Inquisition has an
That's how
Oscar
they get
Kane in
you.
their department too. That's a different way of doing things.
Sure. That's how they get you.
Let's not
Either
try
way,
and attack the vampires.
well, shall we say, okay, so you can pick any of these candidates to maybe run an interview with, or you could just pick one and send them a letter saying, yeah, you got the job. Here's a copy of the key. I don't know how hands off or hands on you want to be with this.
I think I'd like to interview them. Yeah.
They're all Irish and Scottish.
The Scottish was fine. The problem was she isn't Scottish. I am honestly ashamed of myself with that.
No,
and I'm fully aware that
good.
Chris Corline is going to beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
He's going to give you so much shit tomorrow.
It was awful.
Carry
on.
I think I am tempted more by Roni and Junius than David.
Sure.
So I would like to interview those two.
Okay. So yeah, you can
because-
send off. You can send off ghouls with kind of reply letters for them. And where are you going to interview them at the shop?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Sure.
At the Haven.
No, Mandel, that would be a bad idea.
It does have a creepy dye malice to put in
Just Mandel coming in, opening up the fridge, clearly full of bags of blood. Takes it on, closes the fridge. I'll just be leaving.
They might take it as a kind of interview tactic to put them on the back foot. But, yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can set up those. You can set up those meetings, those interviews, and we will absolutely delight in running those. So you have the rest of the evening spread out ahead of you. I'm aware we are coming to our time, so let's just more set up. What is the coteries' plans for this evening, for this next night?
I mean, we've still got one task. We've still got to contact Rose. Do we want to do that tonight?
I would be delighted to.
I don't mean to nitpick, but I definitely think the Anarch task is still incomplete. Because the task was not talk to them, it was deal with them.
Before if anyone even vaguely tangentially mentions Johnny Gallagher or the Anarchs, Oscar is going hunting. Not Oscar, Arthur. No, I'm doing it.
Well, I'll gladly come with you, but no. Yes, I suppose we should also deal with the Anarchs.
Why? I mean, they're just gonna they're not gonna listen to us. We're not going to kill them. They're just gonna cause a mess, and they'll go off on their own eventually, under their own steam once they boil themselves out.
And how does that position us with the elders?
Oh well, they'll be really angry at us, and then we'll die of shame.
I feel that we should come up with an alternate means of approaching the situation. Perhaps some distance and calm will give us an opportunity to think of an additional way, as at the moment I fear anything we do will just be a repeat of the same situation.
Is there any chance we can call in a favour?
Regent's Park's quite close to Camden. Sheriff's beating up anarchs.
You said she wasn't into the politics anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
Perhaps we could convince Rowena to recruit them into her anti-Second Inquisition fighting force.
Okay,
She'd
so
straight.
Aside from Arthur, who's obviously left, we are in general in favour of taking another shot at these Anarchs.
A different shot. Very, very different.
Yes, I don't want to repeat that, but yeah, okay. I quite like the idea of getting somebody else involved.
We must be careful, however.
So is the general idea to put the annex mildly on the back burner for now, wait for things to calm down a bit, come up with an idea and address them, and for the moment, try and find Rose?
Well, what the plan seemed to be was talk to Rowena and see if she would be willing to
her wing.
Yeah. She's accumulating bodies for the oncoming slaughter, and
But we may wish to wait a night or two to do that, just because if we go back to her again tonight already, we might be pushing it a bit with her.
So that sounds like back burner.
Well, not so much back burner.
For this evening, it is.
But yeah, it's not this evening.
Sure.
And who knows? Maybe Rosa Barwi will give us some additional insight into an approach to deal with these annex. Maybe.
I feel that we should not discuss failures of ours when attempting to ingratiate ourselves with another kindred.
Okay. Noted.
Okay. So is the idea to try and kind of find Rosa Barwi and see what can be done about that? Is that kind of the plan for this evening? Arthur, during the Anik discussion, has gone off and hunted. Feel free to make a roll on that. Did you go to Soho to do it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And I once again have forgotten to write down what.
I would like to remind everyone, currently there is meant to be no other vampires in Soho because it is part of the central city of London. Should there be vampires claiming Soho as a territory in the future, you will not be able to repeatedly go and hunt there, or at least without consequences. Just as a reminder. But I believe we gave it a difficulty of 3 for a hunt, so just make your standard hunting roll.
Okay.
We're right at the end of the session, so I'm not going to massively narrate it or anything. But okay.
That's fine. I am using presence to up my persuasion as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nah. I have 1 willpower left, and I'm going to spend it.
That's fine. You're going to get some willpower back at the beginning of next week anyway, because that's our willpower recovery.
That's a victory face right there.
Is it a bestial failure, John?
It is.
But then we have our cliffhanger, and I didn't think we were going to have one. So we will wrap up the session there this week. And next week, we'll come back in and see what's happened while Alex, Oscar, and Mandrill have been having this calm discussion about Annex. Arthur has been going to Soho and getting into trouble. So on his own. So we will pick up with that next week. Thank you, John. I was worried this was going to be a slow burn ending, but beautiful. So, thank you everyone for playing. Thank you everyone for watching. Apologies to everyone in Ireland, and
just generally. And
I'm
for tonight.
I will prove. I swear, I will prove it to you people. I can do you people, as in the people here, not the people of Ireland, that I can do a decent process. You know what the issue was, and we got a little bit of extra time here. Do you know what the issue was? And I know Neil's nodding because he's like, the issue is you can't do accents. But
was it the lighting or the or?
No, I literally forgot what Irish people sound like.
Yeah, it's a common problem
in the moment, because earlier I was practicing. I was like, yeah, nail it. And then as I start, I was literally like, it was just like when you're like on stage or whatever, just a block, and I was like, holy shit! I've suddenly have no concept in my head of what the Irish accent sounds like. And it just came out Scottish.
I just wanted to say, lucky you.
Terrible. Regardless of that, right? Blurb stuff. We have links down below. Social media, YouTube, Patreon. Check them out. We also run another series. It'll be on tomorrow night. It's on every Wednesday night at 8:00 on 8:00 GMT on Twitch. That's Simba Room, Dark Fantasy. It's fun. Check it out. We also run monthly one-shots, the most recent of which, and the first of which, was Alien. I think the VOD for that is still hanging out on Twitch. It's also going up on YouTube in increments. So check that out if that seems interesting to you. And otherwise, we'll see you next week for more Vampire. Thank you very much, folks. Goodbye.